Hey guys, welcome to today's webinar. Let's see who we've got on so far. Awesome, welcome to, there's so many people joining at the moment. Hey guys, my name's Lenny from Jungle Scout. We're just gonna give it one more minute before we kick off. And just while we wait, I'd love it if you just wanted to drop in the chat box where you're tuning in from. Myself, it's 10:30 in the morning over in Australia. I imagine it's probably evening for a lot of you guys, but it's always cool to hear where everyone's coming in from all over the world. Hey, California, Bangkok, LA, Texas. Hey, Linda, Port Macquarie, cool, some names I know, Mexico. Hey, Kentucky. It's cool to see some fellow Aussies in there as well in the mix. Very nice. Fort Lauderdale, San Francisco, Puerto Rico, Caribbean, very nice. And also, if you wanted to drop in there, how long have you guys been using the Jungle Scout web app, or how long have you been a member? Is it only very recent, a few days, a week, or a month? 2 days, nice. 2 days, just joined today. Oh, cool. 1 week, few days, what are you yesterday? First time using it was Saturday. Last night. Very cool, guys. So I'm kind of hoping that today's webinar will be very timely for you. All right, so it's a couple of minutes past the mark, so we might kick it off. So welcome to today's webinar, guys. My name's Lenny. I'm going to be your host today. What I'm going to be going through is the Jungle Scout web app, the different tools that make it up, and how to use them. So we're going to go for a short presentation where I demonstrate the web app, and then after that, we're going to go into a Q&A session. So if you have any questions along the way, or have any additional questions about product research or Jungle Scout, you're going to have a chance to ask them after our presentation. So feel free just to hold on to those questions until the end, and I'll get to answering your questions. So the easiest way for me to demonstrate is to share my screen. So just let me do that now. All right. So you guys should be seeing my screen now. So this is the screen that you see when you first log into Jungle Scout. Okay, up the top here, you've got the 3 different tools that make it up: the product tracker, the product database, and niche hunter. Depending on which membership level you have will be dependent on which ones you have access to. On the starter membership, you're only going to access the tracker and the database. On the standard and the business plans, you'll get access to all 3. Now, just to continue talking about the little dashboard here, up in the top right corner, you've got my account. So you've got a little drop down menu here. You can change your account settings. So that's your profile, your billing details, etc. Then if you guys have any queries or issues, you can contact us through this support link here. It'll redirect you to our knowledge base that has a lot of articles covering many different topics, but you'll also have the opportunity to email us, which is at support@junglescout.com. So we have an amazing customer service team that works almost completely around the clock. So yeah, if you do have any issues, let us know and we'll get back to you very quickly. Okay, so now onto the tools themselves. The way that I like to look at product research is that there's 2 phases. You've got the first phase, which is finding and generating product ideas. And then the second phase is verifying those ideas and verifying those sales. So the product database and niche hunter are very good at finding and generating ideas. And then the product tracker is where you come to afterwards to then verify those. Cool. So we're going to start off in the product database. Now, firstly, what is the product database? Well, if we look over here on Amazon, Amazon is set up very well for consumers. It's got all the information, great pictures, everything you need to know as a consumer looking to make a purchase. However, it's not as user-friendly for sellers. It doesn't tell you important information like how many sales these products are doing. So it's hard to know exactly which product to pick and sell yourself. So what we've done is that we've taken the best-selling products on Amazon and then we've recatalogued them in our own database. So that's what the product database is. It's our own cataloging of Amazon's products, but in a more user-friendly way for sellers. You know, it's got important data like the estimated sales. So let's go through a demonstration. Okay, so firstly, you can choose which categories you want to sell in, or you want to look at. So I'm just going to uncheck a few, and then I'll explain why I unchecked them. Cool. All right, sweet. So some of the ones that I unchecked are ones that we recommend perhaps not going into, particularly when it's your first product. So things like appliances or electronics, they tend to have a lot more moving parts. There's a lot more risk of things going wrong in those products, okay? So we recommend going for simpler products that have less chance of breaking down or something going wrong. Then things like grocery and gourmet food, kind of like anything that goes in or on your body, again, can be a little bit of a liability. You know, you'd hate it if someone was to get sick from something that you were selling. Okay, so we recommend probably staying away from those products. They also require like FDA approval, and you know, they're harder to sell as well. And then things like, where is it? The clothing and shoes, particularly with clothing, customers tend to be a lot more brand loyal with the clothing that they wear. They're less likely to purchase a no-name brand. You know, a lot of the time they want to be wearing Nike or, you know, specific brands. So it can be a little bit harder to private label in that category. Of course, Kindle Store, we're looking at selling physical products, not digital products. So those are a few categories that we recommend staying away from. So over here, you've got minimum and maximum values for all of these filters. So let's fill out a few now. Let's go 20 to 60. Below $20 or really below $15, the profit margins of a product get very slim. So we recommend looking for products that are at least $15 or dollars and up. Okay, so that's why I went to for about 20. Okay. Then estimated sales, one of the big things that you want to see in a product is that there's demand. You want to verify that there's demand. So we're going to look for products that sell at least 300 sales per month. While you want high demand, the other thing that you want is low competition, okay? And the way that competition is represented is by reviews. So let's say we want a maximum number of 100 reviews, okay? So we've got high sales, but low competition. Makes it easier for you to go into that space and sell there. Another great filter here is rating. So this refers to the average star rating of a listing. So over here on Amazon, you'll see this is the average star rating here. This one is 4.3 out of 5. So let's just set that at about 4. Okay. So yeah, so basically this will eliminate any listings that have a rating of 4 and higher. So again, we're kind of looking at products that are selling really, really well, despite the fact that they're not rated above 4 and higher. So, you know, the user reviews are a little bit lower, but people are still buying them, okay? All right, we'll leave it at those filters for now. Up here, you've got product tier, standard and oversized. Generally speaking, you just want to stick to standard, okay? Oversized products are larger, heavier, they cost more to ship. Amazon has a lot more restrictions in terms of sending them in. They cost more in FBA fees. So you want to try and start with products that are small and lightweight. So that's going to be standard products. Down here, you can set which sellers you want to filter through, whether it be fulfilled by Amazon, fulfilled by merchant, or products sold by Amazon. Or if you don't check any of these, it will just search for all of them. So I'm just going to leave that unchecked so that we just search everything. Okay, so this search is done now. Let me zoom out again. So you'll see over here on the right-hand side, it displays the total number of results that are found, so 5,200. You've also got the ability to download the results to a CSV file, so you can open that up in a spreadsheet in Excel later on. Now let me go through what the data is here that you're looking at. So of course, you've got the basic information like the product info, the category, the price. You've got the net amount here and estimated FBA fees. So if you were to sell this product in this category at this price, then the estimated FBA fees would be $7.49. And then the net amount above that is just the price subtracting the FBA fees. So that hasn't taken away the product cost or the shipping cost to Amazon. You still need to do that because we don't know what that product cost is, but at least it takes away Amazon's fees. So it's a very good starting point. Over here on the right-hand side, you've got the estimated monthly fees, which of course is the very important one. And then you've got the reviews here, which represent the competition, as I said before. Some other great columns to look at, things like LQS. So that stands for Listing Quality Score. You might have noticed there's a filter up here that you can search for. So for all the products in our database, we rank them between 1 to 100 based on their listing quality score, which is made up of things like how many characters they've used in their title, how many bullet points they've used, how much they've filled out their description, the number of images they used. All of that combined makes the listing quality score. So again, another strategy, instead of looking at high sales and low competition, you could perhaps just look at high sales and low listing quality score. So you're looking for products that are selling really, really well, despite the fact that they're not marketed that well. You know, they mightn't have many images, or they just don't have a very optimized listing. That then gives you the opportunity to come in and sell that same product, but just market a lot better, have better and more images, have a better title, fill out all the bullet points and the description, just market your listing better. So that's the listing quality score. Keep in mind as well, you can rank or you can change ascending, descending, and sort by all of these columns if you wanted to do it by monthly sales or the review number, for instance. Over here on the right, you can view these products on Amazon, which is very handy with a click of a button. And then over here on the left, you can add the product to the product tracker, which is the next step. So I would go through, when I find products I'm interested in, I would then add them to the product tracker, okay? So next, I'm gonna briefly go through the niche hunter, and then we're gonna move on to the product tracker. So you'll see that the niche hunter looks very similar to the product database. You've got your categories, you've got very similar looking filters. So what is the difference with niche hunter? Well, while the product database looks at individual listings that match the criteria, what Niche Hunter does is it actually analyzes keywords. These are keywords on Amazon. So it looks at keywords. Let me just open one up there. And then it displays the top listings underneath that keyword. And then it takes an average of the sales, an average of the competition, etc., so that you're really analyzing the niche. If the keyword was yoga mat, for instance, rather than just showing one listing, it would analyze the top 10 results or up to the top 10 results and find the average number of sales, the average number of the competition, and so forth. The reason why this is important is because, for instance, let's say you find one yoga mat that sells really well and it's only got 20 reviews. So you go, great, this isn't very competitive. However, when you go to Amazon and you look up yoga mat, you might see that there are a dozen other listings that are very competitive with thousands of reviews. Therefore, meaning that it's not as easy of a product to sell as you thought. It's a lot more competitive than you thought based on that one listing. So when you do find a product, it's always best to come to Amazon and look at all the top results under that keyword to analyze the entire market or the entire niche. So that's what Niche Hunter does. It looks for keywords that match this criteria. So the things that you've got here are the average units sold per month, the competition, the listing quality score. We've also got a new filter here called the opportunity score. So these are all out of 100. So let's actually go through a quick example. Again, I'll just uncheck some of these categories. Okay. All right, that'll do for now. So we want high numbers of sales. Again, we'll go like 20 to 70. The opportunity score, as I mentioned, is just an all-round opportunity score. The higher the value, the better the opportunity. Competition, we want to be low, of course. We don't want too much competition, but for the sake of this example, I'm going to actually bump it up and we're going to look at high competition products. Let's just change that. And listing quality score will make that high as well. Okay, so now let's hit search. Oh, 2 results. I've restricted it too much. If you ever see things like this, it's probably because you've restricted it too much. So let's change that a little bit. Okay. All right, now we've got 129,000. Okay, so actually this is a perfect example of what I wanted to show you. It's very easy and visual to see which keywords are good or not, or how they're ranked by these little monkeys. As you can probably guess, green monkeys mean it's a good opportunity. The red ones mean it's bad. And the orange ones means it's sort of like average, okay? The other way to look at it as well is that these green monkeys have little smiling faces. The red monkeys look pretty sad, and the orange monkeys, they're just kind of hanging in there, okay? So that's a quick way to read this legend. Okay, so let's open up one of these Mother's Day gifts. Okay, again, you'll see you've got all the product information, the category, price, the net amount and the FBA fee, all that information that you could see before. Got the estimated monthly sales over here on the right, and you've also got the number of reviews here too. All the same information as before. You've also got the ability to add this to the product tracker. So what I would do, as I'm scrolling through, I'd be looking for keywords that, you know, I'd just be browsing through these different keywords and seeing what products are underneath them. If I find something that looks, you know, like potentially like a good opportunity or something that I like the look of, what I would do is I would actually add all of these products to the product tracker. Okay, so I want to track all the top products in this niche. The same way in the product database, if I was to find, sorry, just to quickly duck back, if for instance I liked this product here, canned cat food, I would go over to, well, firstly actually I would track this product, but I would go over to Amazon, I would search for canned cat food, and I would track all the top listings if that was something that I wanted to pursue further. So back to Niche Hunter. As I was saying, if I find something that I like the look of, I'd track all the top products here. And then I would move over to the product tracker. So that is Niche Hunter. Now you've generated some product ideas. You've sent a few products over to the product tracker. Actually, I'll track one. Let's just open one of these up and I will add a couple of these to the product tracker. You get a little notification over here that it's been added. Now, if I come over to the product tracker, you'll see that they've been added here. Okay. So what is the product tracker? Well, what the product tracker does is that it tracks the sales of products over time. Now, why would you want to do this? Well, the estimated sales that we get for the product database and the niche hunter, they're based on how well that product is doing at that point in time. So we calculate the estimate of a thing called a bestseller rank. Now, Amazon gives every product a bestseller rank based on how well it's selling. So for instance, a product that's ranked number 10 in sports and outdoors could be equal to 1,000 sales per month. So of course, number 1 in each category is the best-selling product in that entire category out of every single product. So based off the bestseller rank, we've been able to determine approximately how many sales each product is doing. However, it's possible that this number could be inflated, okay? So for instance, let's say a seller is doing a giveaway promotion. They're giving away 100 units of their stock at 50% off. They're going to do a heap of sales in 1 or 2 days. This is going to inflate their bestseller rank temporarily. And therefore, that's going to also inflate our sales estimate. So you might look at that product and go, wow, that does 2,000 sales or 1,000 sales even per month. But that's not actually the case. It's just temporarily inflated. That bestseller rank just means if it were to continue doing sales at that same velocity, that's how many sales it would get per month. But after a few days, that's likely going to come back down once their promotion is over. So it's a good idea once you find products to verify them by tracking these products over time. And so what the product tracker does is it goes one step further than just sales estimates. It can actually display real sales data. The way that we do that is that we count the inventory levels of that product every day. So if there's 1,000 in stock one day and then there's 900 the next, then we know they've done 100 sales in that day. So that's how we track real sales data. Let me open up one of these graphs to show you. So you'll see these blue bars here. They represent the inventory levels, okay? Then you've got the black bars, which represent real sales data. But then you also notice we have these orange bars, and they actually represent estimated sales. So we still use sales estimates in some particular cases. Times that we would use these are when, for instance, a seller has more than 999 inventory in stock. That's the maximum number of inventory that Amazon allows us to see. So we can never see more than that if they've got more than that. So therefore, we can't count the difference in stock when they've got above that number. So on those days, we revert to sales estimates. As soon as it comes under, we start doing real sales. Another time that we do use estimates is if they then add inventory. If they add inventory on that day, again, we can't calculate the difference. So we use sales estimates for those days. And then thirdly, if there's multiple sellers on a listing and the buy box owner changes, we revert to sales estimates on those days because the product tracker will only track the inventory of the buy box seller. Okay, now the green line here, that represents the bestseller rank, the one that I mentioned before. You don't really need to worry about that one too much. All you really need to worry about is the black bars and the orange bars. And of course, watching the blue ones gives you a good indicator of how much stock they've got as well. So that's very handy. So you'll also see over here on the right-hand side, you've got all that same information from before, the category, the estimated fees, the net amount, all the same information as before. You've still got the ability to view that product on Amazon, and you've also got the ability to view this graph anywhere between 7 to 60 days. Okay, so this one's only got 15 days of data available, so that's as high as it will go. Now, I recommend tracking a product for at least 14 days, at least a couple of weeks, okay? Because you want to see a lot of consistent data. Okay, let's see if I can find an example. Okay, so this one's showing 30 days worth of data. This is a lot better than just a couple of days. Why? Because I can see here lots of consistent blocks of around about the same numbers of sales. So 8 that day, 8, 6, 13, 13, 3, 7, 6, 8, 1. So the longer you track a product for, you can get a good average of their sales. The more accurate your average is going to be to give you confidence in how many sales that product is doing. If you've only got 3 days worth of data, and let's say they did 20 sales on one day, they did 1 sale the next day, and then they did 6 sales the next day, you really wouldn't have any clue how many sales this product does on a regular basis. That 20 might have been from a giveaway promotion, or like you really have no idea. But the longer you track it for, the more consistent numbers you see, the more confident you can be in how many sales that product is doing. So that's why the product tracker is very important. Once you've found all your ideas, look at the top 10 results at least on Amazon or in the Niche Hunter, and then add all of those products to the tracker, and I would track them for a couple of weeks to verify that product idea or verify the sales numbers, okay? All right. I'll quickly go through how to add products. So you can add products to the tracker by doing it from the database or Niche Hunter like we did before, clicking on that little plus. You can also add them straight from Amazon. So let's open up one of these listings here. There are 2 ways. You can copy the URL up here in the top, and you can paste that one in here, or you can also add the product ASIN. The ASIN is just an identifier that Amazon gives to every product. So every product's got an ASIN number. So the ASIN is found in a couple of places. It's up here in the URL also. And you can also find it if you scroll down here under product details, you'll see the ASIN. So if I copy that one and I'll paste it in, add to tracker. Okay, you get a little notice up here, it's been added, and here it is. A couple of things to note, there are times that you might see the message basically come back in 48 hours. So if a product has never been tracked before, when you add it, you will need to wait 48 hours for us to get our first data, for us to count the first couple of days, like track that product's inventory for the first couple of days. So that's totally normal if you see that message. Also, sometimes it might ask you, I'll see if I can bring up an example. This one should work. So let's say I copy, this time I'll copy the URL and I'll paste that in. Add to tracker. Oh no, it didn't do it. Sometimes you will be asked which, it'll say this is a parent ASIN, which child ASIN would you like to track? Essentially, that just means that particular product has a number of variations. Like this one, it has a number of different colors, and it might ask you to select which one you would like to track. So of course, you just select the color or the size that you want to track, and it will start to track it. All right. Okay, guys. So that is the product tracker. So that covers everything that I wanted to go over today. Now, what I'd like to do is open it up to you guys for any questions that you might have. So, any questions that you might have, please just drop them in the chat box. I believe there's a couple already there, so I'll start by answering them. And then we're going to go for a bit of a Q&A session now about Jungle Scout and any questions that you might have. No sound. Sorry, guys. Okay, can you guys hear me now? I think I accidentally muted it. My bad. Okay, sorry, guys. I'll quickly go back to the top. So I was just answering a question that was, where is it? So let me go back to the top. Okay, just curious why you recommend against cell phone accessories. That was just more from the electronical aspect. So a lot of products in that category are electronic. So yeah, that's why I was suggesting against that particular category. Also, cell phone cases and accessories are very, very saturated. You know, there's most of the people selling there already have thousands and thousands of listings, so it's a very competitive space to get into. Those products generally are like well under $10, so there's very little profit margin. So that's why I recommended against that one. Sue says, what if the inventory shows 0? What does that mean? I would have thought that would just mean that the product is out of stock, not available on Amazon. I can't think of any other reason why the inventory level would show 0. If you have seen an example where it shows 0, but the product is still clearly available on Amazon, just shoot us an email. I dropped our email address in the chat box, support@junglescout.com, and we'll take a closer look at that example. But yeah, otherwise, I would have thought it would be if it's out of stock. Mike says, how many people are on the event? Who have we got? We've got about 60 people live today. How many products from keyword search, top 10 results, would you recommend to track in the product tracker? Is 1 enough, or it's must have at least 2 plus? Personally, if it's a product that I'm pretty confident on selling, like I would track at least 10, as many as possible, really. The more data you collect, the better. You know, even on the smallest plan, you've got, you can track up to 40 products on our smallest membership. So I would certainly use at least 10 on each product that I'm looking to sell. If you're trying to be conservative, then at least 4 or 5. But if I'm really serious about a product, I would track 10. Okay, Stephen says, I understand the product database and niche hunter are updated approximately weekly. Would it be possible to add a timestamp to the results so we would know when new research can be done? Yeah, that's a great suggestion, Stephen. I'll pass that on. So what he's referring to is here in the product database, we've got, I think it's like nearly 35 million products or something like that in the product database. So constantly updating those products, you know, we can't possibly update them to the second all the time. So the best-selling products, I think, get updated every hour. And then as the sale, you know, for the products that are selling less and less, they might get updated every day or every couple of days. And then the ones that I think sell less than like 5 a month only get updated once a week or once a month. So what that means is this data here in terms of how many estimated sales that they're doing and their price and so forth, it gets updated periodically. It's not live. It's not, you know, it's not live, like instantaneous. So essentially, if you ever aren't sure, what you can do is that you can click this little refresh button in the middle, and then that will update the product data. So at the moment, it's about 382 sales. I'll hit refresh. 284. So now it's gone down. It's not selling quite as much as it was when it was last updated, probably in the last day or so. But thanks for the suggestion about, you know, maybe leaving a timestamp or something. I'll pass that on. That would be a good idea. Robert asks, what does the Chrome extension do? So I won't go into the extension too much because this is more about the web app. But the Chrome extension is another product that we have that actually runs live on Amazon. So you'll see I've got it up here in the toolbar. So if I run that one, it will run live on Amazon, and essentially, yeah, it gives you instantaneous sales estimates for all the products being displayed on the page. So it either runs on a product page like this, or it runs on a search result, product search page, which is like the previous page. So that's what the Chrome extension does. So the Chrome extension is really good if you've got some ideas already about what you'd like to sell. You can search for them on Amazon and then run the extension to get some instant estimates. Whereas the product data, the whole web app is very good if you want, if you don't have any ideas and you want to just get some ideas from scratch, and then also to be able to verify them. You can only do that in the web app. Shirley asks, does the extension work on the iPad? No, unfortunately, Chrome extensions aren't supported on the iPad. We've heard they may, update or change this in the future, but unfortunately at the moment, it's only on desktops. Okay, Diane says, estimated revenue occasionally has less than numbers. What does this mean? I think you should find that normally it would be less than 5. So that just means essentially that it does less than 5 sales. The further out, the fewer sales that a product does, if it's a product that only does, a handful of sales per month, it's a lot harder to be super accurate with the sales estimates, which is why you'll get that less than 5 number in the estimated revenue. So essentially that just means it does very, very, very few sales, almost nothing. So those are the products I'd probably recommend staying away from. Stephen says, I've noticed that many results in Niche Hunter are brand specific. Are there any plans to allow filtering to exclude brand specific keywords? Yeah, that's a good question, Stephen. I suppose it would be very difficult to filter out brands, specific brands, because really, personally, I don't find that an issue. Like when I do product research, it's perfectly fine if there are brands in there because it tells me the products. I'm more interested in the products. If I see a big name brand selling yoga mats, it doesn't mean I can't sell a yoga mat. If they've got a specific yoga mat that they've designed and they've painted it and so forth, I can't sell their yoga mat without permission. Or I can't rip it off, but I can still sell my own yoga mat. So I don't think you necessarily need to exclude all brands from the Niche Hunter or from the web app in general, because you ultimately just want to see which products are selling well, and then you use your best judgment and do further research to determine whether you're able to sell that product or not. Okay, Joe says, any reason to track brand name products? I noticed there were some tracked. We can't obtain and sell branded products, correct? Yeah, again, I suppose coming off that last point, I guess my answer is pretty similar. I would still track branded products. You can't sell on their listing without actually having the genuine stock and being a reseller of them or wholesaling their specific product. But I still want to track their product to see how many sales it's doing, because we're talking about the private label model. We're not talking about sort of wholesaling and selling or retail arbitrage and selling on someone else's listing. For instance, I don't want to sell, what's this one, Rehut. I don't want to sell Rehut's yoga mat. I want to see how many sales all these other yoga mats are doing and then create my own listing like Lenny's yoga mat, and I want to sell that. So there is reason to track branded products because, again, you just want to see how many sales the product is getting. Okay, Alan says, are there any restrictions to sell in health, bath, beauty categories for new sellers? Yes, I do believe you need to get approved in, definitely the beauty category. I've heard a lot of people say it can be quite difficult. It's not, I'm not really familiar with the gated categories and getting ungated and so forth. But yeah, definitely with beauty, and I think the same with health, because again, my knowledge here is very minimal, but I think you need to get different approvals and so forth to sell those kinds of products. So I think it is a little bit harder. Okay. Let's see. Okay, and just to let you guys know, there will be a replay link of this webinar sent out to all of you that have been registered. So yeah, you'll have a chance to come back and rewatch this if you choose to, and any links that I mentioned and so forth will be included in the email. So don't fret if you missed part of the webinar or at the beginning, because you will get the chance to come back and watch it again. Okay, the next question is the sales estimate for the product sold in Amazon Mexico influenced by their performance in Amazon US? No. Essentially, so that brings me to a good point. The Jungle Scout web app actually works in 9 different markets. One of them is Mexico, and no, the sales estimates for each market are not based on how well that product is doing in the US. We've come up with the sales estimate algorithms for each individual market separately, individually. So the product's being sold in Amazon Mexico. When you see a sales estimate for it, that's got nothing to do with how well that product is performing in the US. We've built it from the ground up for each market. Okay, Gabriel says, can you go over how you would do a search for a particular product's competitors to verify the demand for the product? Okay, Gabriel, hopefully I answer this, but essentially it's kind of what I covered. So again, if I was looking at yoga mats here, all of these top listings, the ones especially in the top 10 on page 1, those are my biggest competitors. So how I would sort of research them is just add all of these to the product tracker. I can see how many reviews they've got, so that gives me an idea of how competitive they are, and then I would add them all to the product tracker to see how their sales are doing over a couple of weeks. So I get a good idea of how everyone is selling, and that will give me a better picture of how easy it will be for me to start selling in amongst them. So let me know if that answers your question or if I can clarify any further. Okay. Okay, so Gabriel also says, for example, I pick out a primary product that I find has good potential. I would now like to find at least 2 more competing products just like it to verify the demand for this product. Okay, so that brings me to a good point. When you are looking at different competition, what you want to do is you want to try to find the most relevant keyword or the most common keyword. So yoga mat is an easy one, okay? The most common search term for yoga mat is probably going to be yoga mat. So what you want to do when you're looking at products on Amazon is you want to keep experimenting with the keywords to try to find the most common keyword or very close to. So let's say, like, if I initially was looking at, I don't know, yoga mat for beginners in 2017. You're looking for something really long, clearly in an obscure keyword. If I have a look here, whoops. Sorry guys, just gonna move stuff around. Okay, you'll see you've got a listing here with 7 reviews, 243, 7. Well, these ones aren't even relevant. But it's like, based on this, I'd go, oh, wow. It looks like, yoga mats here, even, actually, let's just try it. Yoga mat for beginners. Here, 200, 174, 300 reviews. Someone's got 900 reviews, 200, 200. So based on this, I might go, okay, yoga mat's not too competitive. I could sell that. They're all around maybe 200 reviews. I could easily catch up to that. However, yoga mat for beginners is probably not, it's probably not the most commonly searched term. So I might be sort of falsely led to believe that yoga mat isn't too competitive. Whereas when you actually look at the most common keyword, which I think would be yoga mat, you'll see that actually there's like 900 there, 4,500, 1,500, 600. In fact, there is actually a lot of competitive listings there for Yoga Mat. So when you're looking at a particular product, you want to experiment with the keywords that you search up here to try to find the most commonly used or commonly searched keyword. So I hope that makes sense. Sue says, is the BSR considered the rank in the search? Yes, so anytime you see rank, that refers to bestseller rank or BSR. Okay, Sahil says, I'm confused on the use of Niche Hunter. What exactly is its purpose? Do you find products that you should sell? Yes, you do. So really what the Niche Hunter does, it finds keywords that match your criteria, or the top listings under that keyword match your criteria. And so that's the starting point of your research. You then need to look under that keyword, see what the product is, and then just research that particular product further. So yes, it does help you find products. Jack says, yoga mats look too large for Amazon. Yeah, exactly. I think yoga mats are considered oversized, so it's a bit harder to sell them. They're a bit more costlier to sell on Amazon. Just using them as an example, I probably wouldn't sell them. John says, any functions that will help search Alibaba or other sources? Here at Jungle Scout, we don't have anything that like integrates with Alibaba. For those that aren't familiar, Alibaba is a good place to source products. I think it's like one of the biggest marketplaces for suppliers. So you go to Alibaba.com. It's actually very similar to Amazon or eBay, where you can type in products, but it will show you the manufacturers, and you can get in touch with the actual manufacturers to make your product and source it. But what I'd recommend, John, if you guys haven't heard of it, we're running a case study called the $1 Million Case Study. It's where we're publicly launching a product on Amazon, and we're sharing every single step along the way. Actually, there was another webinar for it a few hours ago. However, I highly recommend that one. I'll send out the link with the replay. But within that, we actually did a session. We brought on a sourcing expert who talked to us all about how to deal with manufacturers in China and the best ways and practices to go about sourcing your product. Kristen says, is this a series of webinars? No, this is just a once-off webinar. I do hold it every week, but it's just to help get you guys sort of integrated in, answer any questions that you might have at the start. And hopefully by the end of this webinar, you guys feel more confident about using the web app. JF says, is there any way to boost a product that I'm already selling? Yeah, there's a few things you can do. Running PPC campaigns, that's Amazon's advertising platform, hosting promotional giveaways. So that means, offering discount codes for your products, reducing it, the price to boost the sales. Those are a couple of ways that you can sort of boost those. But then obviously to get more natural sales, you want to be constantly optimizing your listing. We've got a great tool called Splitly at splitly.com, which is great for split testing. So for instance, you can split test your main image. You can have your current main image, and then you might split test it against a different image, and then you can see over time which one gets you more sales. So doing things like that will really optimize and sort of hone in your listing. William says, what do you suggest I set filters to find high selling products with low competition, less than X amount of sellers, etc.? Just give me 1 sec. I'll come back to that. I'm just quickly checking the other messages. Okay. All right, sorry, I just lost your question. Okay, yeah, so what do you suggest I set filters to find high selling products with low competition? Pretty much what I've already gone through, William. So I would just look at the number of sales. I would set that really high, like 300 or 400 per month. And then low competition, I would just go like under 100 reviews is what I like to look at. And then you can just add additional filters as you like. Those are kind of the two main ones. But then I would, based on how many results you get from that, if you've got like 50,000 results, I'd probably like to narrow it down a bit more. So I'd either, decrease the reviews even further or bump up the sales even higher, or start to add in some of those other filters like the rating, like try to find products with a lower average star rating, for instance. Okay. Ruhan asks, how accurate are the FBA fees? They're pretty darn accurate. In all the cases that I've checked, I think they've been like spot on, or sometimes like a couple of cents out. But the FBA fees are very accurate. Sometimes Amazon does periodically update them. So there's a small period. Once they've updated it, we've then got to go back in and update it on our end as well. But yeah, for the most part, they're pretty accurate. Okay, Alan says, how can we be sure that we are not trying to sell a restricted product or a category that is restricted to sell in? So you on Amazon Seller Central, it will tell you the different products that require approval to sell in. Also on YouTube, our YouTube channel is a great resource. I highly recommend subscribing if you haven't already. We produce a lot of great videos every single week. I've got a session called Ask Jungle Scout where I answer a lot of questions. In this week's episode, which is going out tomorrow morning, 8 a.m., in this episode, I actually list all the categories that require approval to sell in. So check out that episode when it comes out 8 a.m. tomorrow morning on our YouTube channel. I highly recommend subscribing because, yeah, that will tell you all the categories that are restricted to sell in. How can you be sure you're not trying to sell a restricted product? Well, in one of our webinars as part of the $1 Million Case Study, we actually had a patent lawyer come in and he talked all about how to check whether you're selling a patented or trademarked product. And that's on our YouTube channel as well. I think it was like session 4 or 5 of the $1 Million Case Study. But I recommend checking out that webinar because he goes into a lot of strategies about how to check these products to make sure that you're not selling something that's restricted. Okay. Will this video be available to rewatch later? Yes, we'll be sending out a replay link. Okay. Tamela asks, are you looking for opportunities to private label only or looking at finding products that have room for another seller as well? Generally speaking, we just talk about the private label model. We're not looking at selling on other products. It's a lot harder. You have to compete for what's called the buy box. If there are multiple sellers on a listing, there's a thing called a buy box, which means essentially who is the default seller. If someone, if I just scroll down here on Amazon and I click on the listing, who wins it, who gets that sale by default. So for instance, here, there's this listing here has 5 new offers, 5 new sellers. But if I just click on this listing and click add to cart, who wins that sale? And it's the buy box owner or buy box winner. So the current buy box winner is Sell Below Cost. That's their store name. There are other sellers down here. You can see a couple of different ones here. So if you're trying to sell on someone else's listing, you have to compete with them to try to win the buy box. So you're not always going to get sales on that listing. It's very hard. There's a lot of things that are involved in winning the buy box. One of them is what your price is, whether you're using FBA, your past sales history. We find it's a lot harder to do that. We prefer the private label model, selling your own listing. You get 100% of the profits. That's the model that we talk about and we promote. Okay, James is saying, when you're selecting 100 reviews maximum, is that 100 reviews for the top seller or 100 reviews amongst the top 10? So James, that 100 reviews maximum refers to each individual listing. So all the listings then, none of the listings will have more than 100 reviews. when you say top seller, so again, using this listing as an example, even though there are multiple sellers, there's only one listing. So all the reviews that all of these sellers get all go to this one listing. So each individual seller doesn't have their own number of reviews. It's all under one listing, just to make that clear. Claude asks, do you have any idea whether the Jungle Scout web app will be operational on the incoming Amazon Australian marketplace? I'm sure it will be. We certainly don't have a timeline as of yet. I don't know how long it will actually take for the Amazon marketplace to adapt and come into Australia. But yes, I'm certain that at some point we will definitely bring it in for the Australian marketplace. Okay. Okay, James says, if you are tracking a product, does it track the top seller for that product or all sellers? So the product tracker will only track the buy box winner and their sales. So again, in this instance, we're only going to track the sales that are received by sell below cost, who's the buy box winner. We're not going to track the sales from these other guys. Generally speaking, like the buy box winner would be getting like probably 99% of the sales anyway, I would think, or a very high percentage. So yeah, only the buy box winner. Tiffany says, what percent of people who use your tool are successful? I would have no idea in terms of a percentage. Every day we're getting different success stories sent in, and it's really great for us to hear from our customers that are doing really well and have been able to find products and launch them. But no, unfortunately, I don't actually know any of those numbers. We'll have to look into that. Maybe the marketing team has some more research, but yeah, if we can find out some of that, that'd actually be really cool to share. Maybe on our social channels and so forth. So thanks for the idea. Okay, Alejandra, I will look at that product listing, that link that you sent through a little bit later. Okay, Mike says, Lenny, it would be good to add favorites to the search terms in the web app. Didn't find it there. Okay, I'll note that, Mike. Thanks for the suggestion. I'll pass that on to the team. So adding favorites for the search terms. Yeah, that's cool. Okay, so this question is, any reason there will be a massive difference, i.e. 400 plus per month in the extension versus 14 in the product tracker? Well, I'm assuming in the product tracker, it's like daily sales as well. So keep that in mind. It's daily sales, whereas the extension will be showing the monthly sales. The other thing to keep in mind though as well is that the extension does estimate for the entire listing. So whereas the product tracker will only track the buy box seller, the extension will track the sales of all the sellers, all the multiple sellers on that listing. So that could also account for the difference. Okay, Daniel says, when I look for a product on a marketplace different than Amazon.com, is the estimated sales data specific to the marketplace I searched on, or is it being influenced by sales in the US? Okay, yeah, I answered that one before, but it's individual. It's not based on the sales in the US, for sure. Gabriel says, is there a way to exclude all the gated categories from your search with one button? If not, can I put in a suggestion for one? I think this would be very convenient for those that do not want to bother with gated categories. Yeah, that's a good suggestion, Gabriel. I'll have to, yeah, I'll jot that one down as well. So you can't just toggle off gated categories. But like I said, there is a video coming out in the morning that does show all the categories rather that are restricted or require approval. You can certainly just not search in those categories once you know what they are. But yeah, we could certainly include something within the web app so it tells you which categories. That could be handy. So I'll pass that on. Thank you. Tamala says, do Jungle Scout products work with Amazon Business or just regular Amazon? That's a good question. I'd assume that I'd assume that it would work with both. I don't know for sure, but Amazon business products are usually, I think Amazon business products are available just as regular products as well. So it wouldn't matter whether the sale has come from Amazon business or just, you know, through regular Amazon, it would still be classed as a sale. So yeah, I'm pretty sure it would work for both. John says, one seller comes up frequently. What does number of sellers mean for a given search? Generally speaking, if there's one seller, there's a good chance that they're a private label seller because they're the only ones selling that product. They should only be the only ones selling that product. We don't really consider the number of sellers overly important in terms of your competition or anything. Like if the listing has lots of sellers on it, yeah, we don't feel that really plays any part in competitiveness or anything. Okay, Risa asks, how can I assess products that may be seasonal? What is selling now for the summer? Maybe done in a few months. Does Jungle Scout track trends? Yeah, that's a great question, Risa. So the other thing to keep in mind is seasonality. So here's an easy example is in November, December, Christmas tree lights are probably going to be selling like thousands per month. But, you know, come January 1st, they're probably, you know, their sales are going to hit rock bottom. So you want to know if a product's seasonal or not, because you don't want to go into selling a product thinking that it's going to do really well to discover it only sells for a couple of months a year. So the Niche Hunter tool actually does have, when you look at the keywords, it does have the Google Trends graph built in for that keyword. It doesn't always get data from there, but that one is built in. The Chrome extension does have a little button down the bottom for trends, and it will show you the Google Trends graph for that particular keyword. Otherwise, just going to Google Trends is the best way to check seasonality. So that is looking at Google search terms as opposed to Amazon search terms, but it's a pretty good idea of how seasonal that product is. So I'd recommend Google Trends. Okay, Timothy says, once we decide on selling yoga mats, do you have suggestions on the best way to find supply? Just search yoga mat discounts and set up an account with them. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Alibaba.com. As I mentioned before, that's a huge marketplace for suppliers. I'd go to Alibaba.com and just search for yoga mat, and that will show you all the different products that are listed and the suppliers that sell each one. And then you contact each of them and you go through and you ask, you know, how much, and you go through the terms. Again, in the $1 Million Case Study, the webinar series, we do have an episode dedicated to that, and I think there's also a link to a template that we use when you're contacting suppliers. So I'd highly recommend checking that one out on our YouTube channel. Okay. Any specific, this is from Daniel, any specific considerations when searching on other marketplaces other than Amazon? Is the JS data as reliable on these other marketplaces? Is it as mature as Amazon.com? Any differences? The big difference is that in in Amazon US, we often talk about when you look at the top 10 products, you want to find at least 3,000 sales combined per month. Okay, whereas in these other marketplaces, they're a lot smaller than the US. The US is by far the biggest. So when you're looking in these other marketplaces, you want to reduce that number from 3,000, maybe even down to like 1,500 sales per month. So essentially in these other marketplaces, be a lot more lenient on the sales numbers that you're looking for because the sales are a lot lower. That's the main difference. Jungle Scout should work as well in those other marketplaces. Of course, with the US, we've been collecting data from the US for the longest. So the US probably will be a little bit more accurate. But yeah, we've spent a lot of work, and we were working on these other marketplaces and collecting data for a long time. I don't know how many months and so forth now before we went live. So we're very confident in the data that we've got for these other marketplaces also. Jack says, is the Chrome extension included with my purchase? No, the Chrome extension is a separate product to the web app. So you would need to purchase that one separately if you wanted to use it. Steve says, is there a similar webinar for the Chrome plugin? No, unfortunately, there's no webinar for the Chrome plugin. However, again, if you go onto our YouTube channel, there are some tutorials that run through how you can get the most out of it. Robert says, can you repeat that Splitly URL for A/B testing? Yeah, absolutely. So it's just www.splitly.com. Yeah, it's definitely a great one for doing A/B testing or split testing for your Amazon listings. But I recommend that once you've got an established listing. Like when you're starting out, I wouldn't worry about split testing. The thing about it is that you need to be making sales. If you're only getting 1 or 2 sales per day, split testing it'll take a lot longer for you to get results. You really need to be probably getting at least 5 to 10 sales a day before I'd look at split testing. So just keep that in mind. Well, Alejandro's gone, but yeah, we'll definitely send out the replay video. Thanks for joining. Okay, Mike says, if the total sales are 2,000 to 3,000, but the top player got 1,000 of these, would you consider such category, or is it better to continue the search? That's a good question, Mike. So when we're talking about looking at the top 10 listings and looking for at least 3,000 combined sales in the top 10, one thing that you want is you want depth in the market, which means you want to see those sales spread out fairly evenly. In this situation, like you said, Mike, if you've got 3,000 sales there, but like 1,000 or 1,500 of those sales are on the top listing and the rest are getting very few, I probably wouldn't continue any further with that product because it means even if you were to sell on that top 10, you're probably not going to get many sales. It looks like one listing just dominates all the sales. So in those situations, I would look for something else for sure. Evelyn says, is there a cost percentage rate to shoot for when importing items? Example, shipping and manufacturing. Just as very basic rule of thumb, I would say like 1/3. Like if you're just quickly looking at products on Alibaba, I would be looking to try and find products for about 1/3 of the cost that you, for 1/3 of the cost that you want to sell it. So yeah, if you've got a $15 product, I'd be looking to source it for about $5, and then it'll be about another $5 for Amazon FBA fees and so forth, which then means you'll get a $5 profit or about a 30% profit margin. So yeah, I would be looking for products that are about 1/3 of what I want to sell it for. Okay, Daniel had to head off. Thanks for joining, mate. Despina says, did you already go through what all your numbers on the tracking meant? Yes, I did go through them all. You can check it out in the replay. So you'll definitely get that one sent out to you. Okay, so Ben says, I know it's probably too late for this coming Prime Day, but is there any search criteria you change when looking for hot products prior to Prime Day? Not that I can think of. I can't really think of anything that would change in my product research leading up to Prime Day. It's probably just more, in the months leading up to Prime Day, I'd be just focused on getting my product into the Amazon marketplace, getting it to start selling so that I'd be eligible and have stock available to start selling on Prime Day, because it is like the biggest sales day of the year. So having your product launch and having stock available is definitely a good thing on Prime Day. Mauricio says, Amazon business is truly great. However, cash flow is an issue. The faster it moves, the faster you need to have cash flow, right? Yes, that's exactly right. When you first start out, cash flow can be an issue. That's why, you can start out with smaller numbers of inventory, like 500 or 300. But the problem is getting that restocked quick enough without running out of inventory. So particularly when you start out and you don't have much capital, cash flow is, the biggest bottleneck. So the more cash flow you have, the better. So yeah, it's definitely harder when you start out, but once you start getting those, building up a bit more profit then and cash flow, then you'll be right. Okay, Dustin says, what are your thoughts on a new private label seller starting on Amazon in mid-2017? Is it too late to start? No, absolutely not. Yeah, there's certainly a lot more competition out there now, but there's still so much opportunity on Amazon. Again, plugging the $1 Million Case Study, that is why we started it up. That's why we started this completely transparent public case study where we're selling a product on Amazon and sharing everything. We're sharing the product, exactly the steps we're taking. So in live on a couple of webinars, Greg did product research in front of a few thousand people and picked a product on Jungle Scout during those couple of webinars, and that was a couple of months ago. So we've done this to prove that in 2017 it is still possible to sell on Amazon, and we're sharing our case study as an example of that. Okay, Ben says, also in your experience, what would be one or two of the best categories that tend to have more opportunities for new sellers? I don't really have one or two categories that I would recommend selling in. It's probably more just these other categories to not sell in. Like, keep the product simple. Don't go like electronics or things that have lots of moving parts. Greg always uses the analogy of, say, a cuckoo clock versus like a silicon spatula or something. It's kind of like if the spatula is manufactured like a centimeter shorter or not quite right, it's probably not going to really matter. No one's probably going to even notice. It'll still work. Whereas like with a cuckoo clock, if like one little part is missing, the whole thing will not work. So the simpler you make your products, I guess the simpler your life's going to be. If there's any problems with the product and returns and so forth. So try to look for simple products. You can find them in most categories. Yeah, I couldn't really pinpoint one or two categories that are good to sell in, but just, yeah, I'd look at these ones that I've got checked here for the most part. All right. Okay, Lewis says, I got the JS Pro. Can I have the extension on Chrome? Cool. If you've got Jungle Scout Pro, then you should have the extension already. You do need to be using Google Chrome in order to install it, though. Camille says, thank you for this. What would you recommend to identify keywords? So, Niche Hunter does look at keywords, but if you're looking to find keywords, if you're looking to do keyword research to see how people are finding your product, there are some, there's Google AdWords is a good one, and keyword.io is another great website. And then I really like keywordinspector.com. This one is a paid tool, but what I like about it is that you put in your ASIN or you put in your competitor's ASIN, and it actually gives you all the search terms that that particular product is getting sales from on Amazon. So you can see the actual search terms that are getting the most sales for that product. So that's a great way when you're first setting up your PPC campaign or you're wanting to put keywords into your own listing to optimize it. Keyword Inspector is a great one that is one of my personal favorites. John says, how long has JS been in business? It's been, gosh, it must have been about 2 years now. It's growing very quickly, but 2 or 2.5 years. Ben's taken off. Thanks for joining, Ben. Okay, Alan says, are import duties, taxes, and fees common when importing products from Alibaba? Is there a preferred shipping method when getting started? Air versus ship to reduce the risk of unplanned fees in customs. Okay, Alan, I'm not an expert about freight forwarding and taxes and so forth, so I'd highly recommend, we did have another episode of the $1 Million Case Study where we talked about freight forwarding and shipping and all of that stuff. So I recommend checking out that one to get more details. In terms of air versus ship, when I first launch a product, I'd highly recommend just doing it by air. Getting the product to Amazon, getting it selling, yeah, essentially. And then my personal strategy is send in a shipment via air, send as soon as possible. As soon as you get the money in, send in another shipment because you're already probably running out of stock. Do that 2-3 times at least until you have enough profit or until you have enough stock in Amazon that you can afford to wait like 40-50 days, which is about how long it would take to get a sea shipment in. Actually, particularly as it's probably going to be like 14 to 21 days at least, maybe up to a month to get your new shipment made. But keep sending it in via air is what I would do until I have enough money and enough inventory in stock to place a larger order and send it in via sea. The advantage of sea is that you get the shipping a lot cheaper, but it's obviously a lot slower. It's usually probably like 40 days or something to get that shipment into Amazon. But when I start out, I like to send it in via air just to get it in and get selling. Okay, Mike says, am I right that if I add the product to the product tracker and it was tracked by someone before, I can look at data right away and do not need to wait 2 days to collect data? That's absolutely right, Mike. Yeah, if product's been tracked before, you're going to see data immediately. Mauricio says, calculating my profit numbers, my primary product's price changes a lot. Today I saw that this increased $4 just within a couple of days. Should I update this price for calculating my profit numbers? Yeah, potentially. That's why it's really handy to look at all the top listings as opposed to just one. Look at all the top listings. Usually you'd see like there's an average price. Like you might see, okay, most of the products sell for around about $20, $22. Then you might see 1 or 2 listings that like, okay, they sell at like 35. They're the premium ones. And then there's usually always like a product that's selling it for like $10 or $12 or the cheaper end. And then you just have to evaluate and kind of go, where do I want to fit in? If most of the listings are like $20, then I'll be like, okay, I'm going to aim for about $20. Or if I improve my product a little bit or bundle it with something else, I'm going to try to sell it for like $23 or something. And you just have to make the judgment call of like, do I think people will pay that little bit extra for a better product? Or do I just need to keep it at the price that everyone else is selling it at? So I hope that helps. Evelyn says, can I send the link to the videos that Greg did the private label tutorial step by step that I just spoke about? Where can I find the $1 million case study? Let's see, here's a link for it. I'll just drop the link in here. I think this will work. So I've just dropped in the chat box. Oops. Well, I'm trying to drop into the chat box. Okay, I've just put in the link for the $1 million case study. I think that will work. Yes, great. So you should be able to view all of the past episodes and also register for the upcoming webinars for that one too. Okay, Linda says, is there a restriction as to how much Amazon can store for you? Yes, if you're selling oversized products, you can only store up to 500 at a time. Over time, they will increase this depending on your sort of sales history and how many you're selling. But when you first start out, it's a limit of 500. For standard products though, which is what we recommend, there is a limit, but it's like 5,000 or something. It's huge. So I wouldn't even worry about it. I've never even looked because I've never been able to send in that much inventory at once. So yes, there is a limit, but it's usually so high that it doesn't even matter. Okay, it looks like those are all the questions for today. So I might wrap it up here, guys. Thanks for joining today. I hope you've got a lot of great value from the webinar. I certainly hope it's got you set up and ready to start looking at some products yourself. Again, check out the $1 million case study. Check out our YouTube channel and subscribe to us for a lot of great videos there. We've also got a ton of different articles and blogs on our website, so junglescout.com. You'll see a link there to our blog, which covers a whole heap of different topics and resources. And yeah, if you do have any additional questions that aren't answered today or you can't find the answer to, just reach out to us via email, support@junglescout.com. And again, this replay will be sent out to all of you guys, and I'll include the links that I've shared with you today. So we'll wrap it up there, guys. All the very best. And yeah, thanks for joining today. I'll see you all around the Jungle Scout community. See you guys.